Hey, so I got something really cool in the mail today. I ordered some bus bars to be cut out of copper for the batteries, and I am absolutely not an electrical engineer. I do not have any background in electronics, so I'm bound to make a lot of mistakes. Don't take anything I say as instructional in any way. But I think I'm starting to understand some of how this works. And I think this is going to be a really big improvement. My battery pack will be made up of 12 of these lithium-ion modules. They are 29 volts each at full charge. They need to be connected to each other in series. It's about 350 volts in total in order to power the motor. It's up to me to figure out the best way to connect them all. Initially, I was working with this 6-gauge wire, making contacts between each of the battery modules. And I got these lugs to put at the end of the wires. They're actually the biggest lugs that can fit onto the terminals on the battery modules. The battery modules have actually kind of flimsy little terminals, and they don't have a whole lot of space to put them because they've got this plastic enclosure around them for safety. And I'm not going to mess with that enclosure. I'm not going to do anything to change the terminals. So I've got to work with tiny little connectors. That doesn't mean I'm restricted to this size wire, which, after doing a little bit of research and a little bit of calculations, is really insufficient for the amount of amps that are going to be pulled out of the battery. So I went to this site called SendCutSend. They do laser cutting of different materials, and they do copper. And so I got one bus bar made. So I designed it in Illustrator after doing some measurements, and it's 1/8 of an inch thick copper to replace these wire connectors. Now I haven't attached it yet to make sure that it's the right size, but I think it will work pretty well. As I understand it, the way you measure how conductive a bus bar is based on the cross-section area of the material used. Just off the bat, based on weight, this copper bus bar weighs at least twice as heavy as this. And this has all the insulating material on it as well. So in terms of just the amount of copper, this is a lot more. So the most conductive part of this bus bar is going to be this 3/4 inch wide section. The weak part is going to be these connectors. But as I said, they need to be this size in order to fit onto the terminals of the battery, so it'll fit into that space. I expect, from what I understand, when there's a load on the battery, so when it's powering the inverter and then powering the motor, and there's some resistance on the motor, and it's pulling the maximum amount of current from the battery, they'll get some heat. And probably the places that are going to heat up the most are going to be the actual terminals on the battery because they're kind of flimsy. And then it'll be this thin part of the bus bar. This part will probably stay pretty cool because it's going to be very conductive. So I think this is probably a pretty successful choice. I'm going to test this out on the battery, this one, and then if it fits, then I'll have to order I think 10 more of them. I'm really excited about this. These are really cool. I'm gonna have to bend the ends of these because you can see how the lugs on this have a little bit of a offset, and that actually fits into the space of the contactors on the battery. These won't fit perfectly straight, so I'm gonna bend about a 15-degree angle. All right, so I'm gonna test this now and see if it fits. I'm gonna use it to connect pack 11 positive to pack 12 negative. So before I do that, I've gotta unhook the LTCs because I don't want to change the connections. These are the ones that would connect to these two packs. So yeah, if I'm changing the connections, it won't cause like a fluctuation in voltage that could damage the parts in there. So first thing, just gonna do a little bit of bending. Like I said, just a little bit of like a 15-degree angle on these. And I've got this. It actually bent fairly easily. I think that's probably good enough. All right, put on my safety gloves. There's the old piece. Very good. In fact, I might say that's perfect. Okay. That is a huge success. That fits in there perfectly. Well, that's a huge relief. I'm going to take it back off now, just because I have not coated it with the rubber. So I don't want to just leave it on here actually during this testing, because it is hot, as in it's got a strong charge in it, and I don't want it to touch some loose wire or touch my hand when I'm grounded on the floor or something. So it's much safer just to have these little wires, because they've got the insulation on them and they're got the heat shrink over the lugs, and when they're fully in there, there's no exposed metal to come in contact with. After making sure that the bus bar that I ordered works, I got the rest of them made by SendCutSend and just got them. This time I had them do the bends, because they can do that just as part of it, and so it's more precise than bending them with the wrenches. And I also got these little lugs that'll go on the end terminations for both of the battery boxes. So I've got all my copper now. So I've got 3 cans or 2.5 cans of Plastidip. I think it's going to be more than enough. I've got a little tray to dip them in, some wires to hang them to dry on this little makeshift drying rack, and I've got 9 of these, I've got 10 of these to dip. I'm just going to mix this up, pour it out into this pan.
Yeah, man, when the bike really hit me, Mrs. Stars, and also Pretty Wally, but I mean, pain all over me. Me think me get shocked, but in electricity.
All right, so that's a single coat. It went on thicker than I expected, but I still think I'll do a second coat. So I'm gonna put on a timer for 30 minutes. All right, so now it's been half an hour, and I'm gonna do a little trim of the drippy bits and then put on a second coat.
Like it a funeral, some say it accidental. How's that all youth? I stay on a fat gal. Yeah, man, yeah, man.
So that is 2 coats on all the bus bars. And now it's just a matter of letting them dry. Then I'll put them on the batteries and they'll be good to go. So I'll probably leave these overnight because I want them to really cure.